Thank you very much, and good afternoon, and everybody stand up. It's time to have a 7-inning stretch. Now, turn around to the table next to you and shake their hand and introduce them to you. So if you're at one table, turn the other way to the next table. Just introduce yourselves if you haven't been met before. It's up here. Thank you. Excellent. Now, everybody still remaining standing? Excellent. If everyone can still stand. Now, everybody who has considered using Dataiku or has been using it for less than a year, please sit down. Everyone who has considered using it or has been using it for a year, sit down. Now, everybody who has been using it for 2 years, sit down. Everybody who's been using it for 3 years, 4 years, and now 5 years. Thank you, everyone in the room, for everything you've done with Dataiku. We're here to talk about return on investment in AI. And everybody who stood up together intuitively knows that you will get a return on your investment for technology. The question is, how do you quantify it, and how do you convince your approver to get the budget that you need in order to develop further? So let's start with a quick refresher on recent timelines. Now, we heard this morning from Christina, 2023 was that year with ChatGPT when everything changed. It was a catalyst moment for our industry. I know for a fact that Gen AI is in the conversation, it's a topic of conversation for management and top directors, for everyone in every organization here. We have seen how AI can drive business outcomes, but it's also put more pressure on the importance of delivering a return on an investment in AI. Now, 2024, this year, organizations like yourselves truly began using and deriving value from new technologies. And the potential is there. In fact, McKinsey predicts that Gen AI use cases will generate $4 trillion of value each and every year. $4 trillion. Now let's put that in context for a moment. That is the combined GDP of Canada and Italy every year. So globally, that value is on the table. Now, unfortunately, we still have another metric, and it's the one at the bottom of this page. It's that on average, 80% of AI projects are expected to fail. 80% will fail. So what's limiting us to maximize the opportunity that Gen AI brings to the table on the top of the traditional AI use cases, those traditional predictive analytics that we've been doing, those traditional computer vision, image recognition, object detection, all of those traditional things, this is on top. That $4 trillion is sitting on top. So why are enterprises failing to capture value from AI? Now, to find the answers to this non-trivial question, we have been digging into our own customer stories, stories like you've just heard from the Airline Pilots Club and from FISRA, stories that you will hear earlier on, looking at the greater landscape of stories. You can see them all on our website. But there are also stories from the monitors, the people who are looking forward to seeing what's happening today and anticipating what will happen tomorrow. We've been working with partners like Databricks, service providers like Cognizant, and they've been underscoring the predictions that McKinsey, the World Economic Forum, and MIT surveys have all been making. The common issue is one where stakeholders misunderstand what AI and generative AI can solve for. I see this happening a lot in the field where AI or Gen AI techniques are seen as a silver bullet by the C-suite and leadership and management who have a high level of expectations. Now let's take an example. Let's take an example of a customer service chatbot. And let's take a scenario where there's a large retail company, and they decided to implement a Gen AI-powered chatbot to handle customer service inquiries. Seems like a very good use case. The C-suite executives and the stakeholders believe that this AI chatbot will be able to fully replace human customer service representatives, that they will understand and respond to any customer query, no matter how complex, that they will access and interpret all the customer company policies. They will make judgment calls on refunds and exceptions to policies. They'll be able to even understand customer emotions and respond with appropriate empathy in all situations. Now, does that really sound like a job a chatbot could do? No, exactly. The reality is, chatbot can handle common, straightforward queries, but it struggles with complex or unique situations. It requires extensive training on specific company policies and product information. It can simply not exercise judgment. So therefore, we now have a misunderstanding about expectations. It falls neatly into the poor problem definition category. But the C-suite really fears missing out. So they're experiencing FOMO, and that fear of missing out is what's driving this need for the tech adoption. So how do we get outside of this scenario where the problem being at hand that chatbot could give a refund on something that didn't deserve a refund, or tell that customer, yes, you can have this item at that dollar. And I'm sorry if there's anybody who's here from General Motors, but my favorite example of that over the last couple of years was when GM had a chatbot that famously gave a customer the right to buy a Tahoe at $1. So these problems are real, and the hallucinations are scary. There's one customer, and Global Excel, are you in the room? Andrew is, they're not here. Oh, what a shame. They're one of our recent customers who have fully embraced generative AI, and they give you an example of that call center problem. It's one that many companies at scale have, many enterprises have. They're handling increasingly large sizes of customer calls. They need to reduce the time in which they can handle that call to improve customer satisfaction. They've been able to apply Dataiku answers to query their policy documents and equip their call center staff with the right access to information that will reduce the time to resolution. This reduction in time to resolution also reduces the number of calls that are escalated to a supervisor, and therefore their value gain is tangible. It's this kind of value gain which is what we need to do in order to generate a holistic approach to the application of Gen AI to areas that are going to drive value. So you'll see here there's three components. As we heard from the panelists earlier on, technology is not the sole answer here. Technology is an enabler. We need to imagine how our companies will change. We need to imagine what people's jobs will look like, what differences they may have. And in reality, I think I heard this morning, when you're looking at the notion of what generative AI is doing to us, we hear two aspects of it. It's replacement, or is it augmentation? Well, in reality, whether it is replacement or augmentation, each and every one of us has a responsibility as custodians of generative AI to inform our colleagues and advocate for them to reinvent themselves, to rethink their jobs, to understand how it is that they are going to knit themselves into the business performance of the company or the organization in order to drive those gains through the access to their technologies. So that's that people change, augmentation, support. The delivery process is a key component to this. How are you going to get this information out? How are you going to share it? How are you going to ensure that you have ambassadors who want to share this information, share the results, share the performance gains, tell the stories internally? If you can also think of yourselves as storytellers as well as ambassadors who have the opportunity to share where you've been able to deliver gains, and make sure those stories become little kind of elevator pitches that you can make in 30 seconds or less when somebody joins you on the elevator and says, hey, Nigel, what have you been up to recently? What projects are you working on? What kind of aspects of your work do you enjoy doing? Try to find the joy in creating value outside of building projects. Try to think about projects as one element of creating value in your companies. If we do this together as data experts, as people involved in the data process, we will be able to, from the bottom, start to bubble up to the C-suite. That C-suite is what we need to deliver the strategy and the organization to get invested. They need to know that there is going to be value in order to provide the funding, and in order to provide the investment in the governance to make all of this safe. This will deliver organizational success in AI. So if you break this down, as I've said, you cannot do technology adoption for its own sake. It's never created value. So think about these boxes as the main pillars: the strategy in the organization, the people in the change, and the delivery process. Think about creating advocates and connections within your organizations to make sure they understand the financial, strategic, or experiential value that you're creating. Am I creating a cost reduction? Am I driving new revenue? Am I able to deliver increased customer satisfaction? Do my data projects hit these key drivers for our organization? You need to know who makes the funding decisions for your projects. You need to know how vulnerable your data projects are within your organization. You need to be able to create a safety net for the investment in data so that you can continue that data to hire more people to deliver more value. But you also need to do that safely. You need to team up with those people in your organization who have been given the responsibility to keep this all together. The people who ensure that you are compliant, that you are transparent, that you ensure that private information is protected, that there is minimal bias within things, and that you are mitigating whatever risk you can in a traceable and informed way. And when it comes to people and change, you need to support the intelligence. You need to lead with learning and development for everyone involved, both for the people who are building the projects and the people who are consuming them. We heard earlier on today about an organization that was running an open session about AI, and it started off with 100 people and it grew to 1,500. If we can encourage those same scenarios to happen across multiple organizations, we will be putting the building blocks in place to deliver the return on AI that you are all looking for. I want to do one more thing in this way, and I would like everybody who is a woman or who identifies as a woman to stand up. Everyone in the room. Earlier on today, we acknowledged you by having a Women in Data Science breakfast. The Women in Data Science organization is an organization that aims to increase women's presence in data science to 30% by 2030. I'd like everyone in the room to applaud each other for the work that these women do and the work they do together.